well, you're on speaker, so.
She ain't gonna have it. Thought I found it in my pickup on the way here.
Forgot.
That's why I have your stuff over here.
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. You're driving automatic? Weird. Hey.
Hey, I'll see if she'll text you. Heidi? Alright.
Well, welcome everyone. I'll call this meeting to order, June 27th, planning and zoning, Alder County. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary.
Yes.
Please do roll call, please.
I will now take roll call. Corey Hintz,
Present.
Lonnie Hakey,
Here.
Bill Breimeyer,
Here.
Randy Schmidt,
Here.
Jody Ranke, here. Linda Nelson,
Here.
J.R. Kinsvogel has resigned as city council member and he's no longer on the board. So we are down one member. But we do have a quorum based on this.
Next item is agenda.
There's one addition that isn't on here and it is Bob Boer's building permit. I just didn't make it on there, so I can add that under building permits, then we should be good.
Okay, so Bob Boer, building permit, we'll put him after Blattner. Looking for motion for the agenda.
I move to approve.
Have a motion to approve the agenda.
I second that.
Second from Milani. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, meeting minutes from May 30th.
I don't care if you have permit fees for the ag permit, if you need a permit. I think there was a misunderstanding there. In the past, you needed certain permits for ag.
Sure.
Then, my whole point was, we approved the permit fees, and because of that, we said you have to have a permit for everything in ag.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't oppose the permit fees, I just oppose the application requirements.
Okay.
Does that make sense
That
to
does
you?
make sense. I guess that's not what I gathered when I took the minutes.
Well,
So we can strike permit fees.
yeah, it's probably not a big deal, but I'm just trying to make my point.
Will you tell me what you want to do?
How do you want that to read there? How did you state it?
I stated, I don't want to see application requirements for ag buildings. I struck out the words permit fees or.
Okay.
Talked to a lot of people in the community. Of course, they're all farmers. They'll agree with me.
So no, you said just buildings? What are you saying?
Right down at the bottom,
Just strike permit fees or words out, and I'm fine with it.
at the word bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Just application requirements.
Well, maybe we need a motion to amend those minutes then.
I'll make motion to amend that.
Do I do that?
Someone's gonna have to.
Then I'll do it, 'cause I brought it up.
Make it formal.
I move, strike the 3 words out of the minutes.
Which 3 words?
Permit fees or.
So it'll read, Lonnie discussed that he does not want to see application requirements for ag buildings. Okay, so I got a motion on the floor, amend previous meeting minutes, striking out 3 words, permit fees or.
I second it.
Second from Randy, is there any discussion? Suppose we need a majority, so, with no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. So the meeting minutes have been amended to, still gotta approve them.
Yes.
Unless you see other amendments needed. Does anyone have any other updates or anything?
Looks good.
Looks good. Wanna make a motion?
Sure. Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Got a
Second.
motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes on May 30th. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Conflict of interest discussion. Any board member requested to note any conflict on current agenda items, and the board will determine if that member may discuss and or vote.
I have conflict with the CO2 amendment. I've signed the pipeline agreement and, an agreement with, Summit.
Okay. I guess as far as the building permit for Blattner Energy goes, my family is in the wind project, so I will recuse myself from that. And Minnesota Power HVDC project at Minn-Kota, gonna have some dealings surrounding that as well, so I will recuse myself from that item. And
Are you recusing yourself from discussion and voting or just voting?
voting.
Yeah,
I can run it.
good.
Unless you guys have objections to me running the meeting, so.
No, I don't. I don't know if I have a conflict with Blattner Energy Met Towers or not. It's possible. I have a conflict with the CO2 ordinance amendment hearing, because I have a summit thing, so I'll recuse myself from voting on them too. Like to be in the discussion. I have a lot of questions, if that's okay. I suppose we have to do a
Yeah.
We'll have to
motion.
vote on that, but yes.
I can't hear
We'll
you.
have to vote on that.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
For the discussion.
correct.
Yeah, I know for myself being employee of Minn-Kota, CO2 ordinance discussion, ordinances, and kind of living in the area, farming in the area, I guess, so. I recuse myself from voting on the CO2 ordinance, so. Anything else? Seeing nothing else,
Well, I figured with Bill here, that's a conflict of interest also. And, he should be removed also.
so part of this, I guess, airing out any conflicts, and then the board can decide on discussion voting for people with conflicts, so. Need a motion.
How do you want to do that?
Go ahead.
Listen, how do you want to do that?
Just make a motion that you allow Corey to discuss,
Or not.
or not, either way.
Oh, I think that's important. I'll
You
make
have
a
to do
motion
it
that
individually.
Corey shouldn't be able to discuss the agenda items.
Got a motion on the floor,
A second.
and a second from Randy, to allow me to discuss on the agenda items. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, respond with no. Motion carries.
I make a motion to allow Lonnie to discuss agenda items.
Got a motion on the floor for Lonnie, discussion on agenda items.
I second
You got a second? Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
We have Bill left, so I'm gonna make a motion, and I don't know if this is how you want it, Bill, but I'm only gonna make a motion that you can discuss. And, if that's not good, we'll, do it during the discussion phase of the motion, I guess.
A motion on the floor to allow Bill to discuss the agenda items.
I second.
Got a second? Is there any other discussion? Since you provided extra comment, I'll ask for discussion one more time. Seeing none,
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right way to do that, but that's what I think is what's on my mind.
you made a motion, so you have first right to discuss.
I have nothing.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oh, sorry about that, Linda. Opposed, please respond with a no. Motion carries. Okay, that should be everyone. So, business, building permit, Blattner Energy, 3 Met Towers. In your packet. Application for building and zoning should be permit 1040, right? Yep. Permit 1040.
I have a question. Are you gonna have another, conflict of interest, motion to vote also? Cause all you did was discuss. You didn't do vote.
Yep. We can, it's a good point, I suppose. I mean, I don't,
If you
since we talked.
recuse yourself,
Yeah,
You're
Or,
wrong.
yeah,
it's a different thing.
It's just still.
so, yeah, we can back it up, Linda, if,
I just wanna make sure I'm on the right page because I'm not there.
yeah, yep. So, Lonnie, you're accused on this CO2 stuff.
And the Blattner Energy, I don't even know where it's at, so I gotta look that up. I probably have conflict.
There should be a map on the back of the application. Or the second page.
Or this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Justin Green?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A mess.
You're in 49.
Well, I don't know where the Met Towers are on this key. The stars.
There's little stars, yep.
Well, I don't think this is an issue. I just won't vote, but because I'm in the project.
Just in.
In general.
Yeah. In general.
Yeah. I don't see where there'll be any problem with that.
They're on here.
This is start. So there's. Okay. Sounds good. One up in there.
17th Street.
Right there. Yeah.
They didn't put who the landowners were
Right
there.
there.
They put the section number.
It's this one, and then up here. There's only one.
says you need table permits if you feel that you can prove it, so that's an option. Said you can always table permits if you feel they're
Well,
incomplete, so.
Oh, a Met Tower is a measuring tower.
Right.
And they're not permanent.
No, not usually. So. Okay. Is you recusing on that one?
Sure.
Lonnie's recused on Blattner and CO2.
So back to Linda's question.
Back to Linda's
Are we
question.
doing a vote to vote?
Yep, so right now everyone's got discussion for privileges.
I mean, if you're recusing, you're voluntarily saying you're not gonna vote, so we shouldn't have to do a vote on at least you two.
Right.
You're right.
I can make the motion not for them not to vote.
Well, we already said we're not gonna do
They're
that.
not. They're
Those two, Bill has not said he's recusing, he's just said that he's within these,
Randy, you do what you want.
so.
So how many people are
I make
left?
the motion, know,
You just
for them
have to
not
have a
vote.
quorum to call a meeting to order.
Okay.
So we got five.
We have
Five
a
and
quorum.
7.
Randy made a motion.
Randy,
okay.
did not hear
Sorry.
your motion.
Make the motion for them not to vote.
Bill?
On the-
Is Bill not to vote?
Right.
On the, okay, yeah, so pipeline, so CO2 stuff?
Right.
Okay, got a motion on the floor for Bill to not vote on the CO2 ordinance.
I'll second that.
Got a second? Is there any other discussion? Discussion? Seeing none, take a majority vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, respond with a no. Motion carries. Okay, I think we're wrapped up on that one.
Yep.
So, let's move on, get to the business. Building permit, Blattner, 3 Met Towers. So we got application 1040 in your packets, picture of the tower locations, Met Towers. We got a Justin Green.
I don't think
Okay.
This
This
is
is
Blattner.
Quanta Services.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's with Blackbird.
So the permit is for construction of 3 Met ADLS towers. The permit looked complete, Jim? Everything was good.
They said this is the map. This is actually.
All the diagrams, including the maps.
Those guys are here, aren't they?
Construction begin July and be finished, December. So, construction contractor. Okay. So, yeah, like I say, you got a map, locations,
We included some of these topographical maps too, so.
you got structure with guy wires. $276-foot tower, plus a little bit on top probably, 280. Beacon on top at 280. Guy wires going out 224 feet.
I still didn't find the section in the township where they're on. Yeah.
Oh, you
the-
want this?
I ordered the section in the township. I thought that was,
In the description of the building permit.
I'm sure it's fine, but it should be nice to know where they're gonna be.
It's right.
I got my map here.
Very close to it. 3, location snip blow for general reference, please see attached site map. Yeah, I didn't see where they listed exact descriptions, so
Do they have addresses at least?
legal description of building site, I would think that one should have that information in a construction permit for where they're gonna go, not just a blanket. That's my thoughts.
Only thing is they have location, but that might be their,
An office,
that might be their office or something, or temporary office use, but
But they're not here.
they're not here. And if you feel the need to table it, you're more than welcome to, that's your.
Well,
that's
Can
an
we
option.
approve something that we don't even know where it's
I
at?
don't have to.
I just,
The,
I don't wanna get into that habit.
the location's light on there by, on Highway 0. Pretty sure that's what that is. They got a mailbox out there?
No.
Yeah, bathroom if you gotta go to the bathroom.
So,
What did they,
Like, I can map it out for you, but if you guys want it on the permit,
I think it should be on the
I
permit.
think it should be.
Then-
I don't think that's your job. I'm glad you do it, but
There's a little,
I think they should have done that
a little
really.
box there to fill out, so
Table it, and send it back, and more information.
postpone it until that information.
Yep.
You know, if you want, you can postpone it or do whatever you want, guys.
make a motion to table it?
Until we get the information or
Table
until the
until the next
information.
meeting.
So we postpone, so I got a motion to technically postpone building permit 1040 for Blattner until we have legal descriptions and the application filled out completely. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Got a second? Is there any other discussion?
You need to recuse, so it's just up to those two.
Thank you.
Just reminding you.
Yep. Thank you. So, hearing no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Oppose, respond with a no. Motion carries. Next item would be Robert Moore building permit. You have a number on that one, or
it's 1041.
1041? Okay, so we're gonna say this is application 1041. So, 2765 Highway 25.
It's basically where the other two houses are. He doesn't need a conditional use permit,
Okay,
because we already have residential acreage set out for that, for the
present
two
use.
homes, so,
Okay, so I got present use agricultural, current zoning agricultural.
yeah, that should be residential. Cause it's gonna go right by the other two homes.
Okay, so we got a little plot there that was got conditional use previously, correct?
Well, yeah, and then, yep,
Just zoned for a residence there.
yeah, so
And-
now it's zoned for residents.
Okay, so this would be a mobile home.
Mhm.
Yes.
16 by 80. Existing, so septic and drain field. Is that there already? Or will that'll be installed?
That would be okay.
Okay. Yeah, just Western Plains for permits.
Okay.
And that's kind of at the bottom of the application there too.
Okay.
Used to be Custer Health, but.
Okay.
Existing well, so. This is a public hearing, so if you want to say anything, feel free.
I'm getting old, I need a kid out there to help. And the other house that Dad was living in is too small. We thought about moving in, but I don't think my wife and I get along well enough to live in that tiny house together. So the next obvious solution is then pulling a trailer out. So if you have a family farm, your goal is to pass it on to the next generation, so you can't do that without it there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yep.
Make a motion to approve the permit.
Yeah, hold on to that. So the checkbox for residential,
The present use and everything should be residential. Cause it's
He's talking price.
Oh,
yeah,
price, I apologize,
We didn't have a checkbox anywhere. Did you guys collect a fee already?
Do your math. What's the square footage?
800 plus 480.
1,280 is.
Yeah, that's-
So, yeah, residential 1,000 or bigger, so $100. Can we check that box?
Did your math right?
Patty said to change the box on the second
On the
page.
second page, it is a present use of residential, and the current zoning is residential. So he won't need a conditional use permit.
Yep.
Okay.
Just wanna make
Just a
that
building
clear.
permit for the new home.
Then like the present structures, that's not, if there's like a residence.
Okay, so we should have a box check there for the residential, 1,000 or more. 1,001 square feet or more. So,
He's on a motion, so.
yes. Do we need to make any amendments or just corrections as noted? Malani, I'll let you carry on with whatever you were saying there.
Yep, that's it. I make a motion to approve this.
Got a motion to approve Robert Boer's building permit, application 1041.
I second it.
We got a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, respond with a no. Motion carries. Next item, CO2 ordinance amendment hearing. I have the same one as. Oh, yeah.
This one.
The next one? Okay. Applicant Cassie, so. I suppose, I would, say, Cassie, if you wanna give a little spiel on it or anything, I'll let you have the floor.
Well, I just think it's important for you guys as a county board to have some kind of regulations in our county ordinances regarding CO2, so that companies in this relatively new industry don't get to come in and dictate how things go for those of us who actually live there. Summit's already doing that. They won't negotiate with individual landowners, but have no problem making the same concessions when asked by the NDIC, as witnessed at their permit hearing recently. They refuse to provide information and data that's subject to written records that the attorney representing several area landowners had requested.
they wouldn't release modeling showing where the CO2 will go in the event of a leak or a release of any fashion, which would obviously endanger those in the area. My 4 kids live right in the middle of all 3 proposed injection wells, and I don't feel that Summit has made my family's safety a priority, and this difficult behavior won't change without some kind of regulations that need to start right here with you.
Thank you. So amendment 2024-02. Who wants to read it?
Essentially, it is very similar to the one that we had worked on for months. The only thing that made a significant change in there were the setback requirements. And these scientific values were pulled out. And now it is a requirement, as it is required by them at the state level, to show the impact on human health and safety. So
Okay, so you're saying,
I didn't understand what you just said, Jamie. I just,
do
sorry.
you have a copy of it?
Yeah, right here. I know I understood the first part, your last sentence.
The human health and safety portion of it. So they're required to show that it's not going to negatively impact human life. So this is just basically saying that they need to follow what the state law is saying in regards to that.
I know I read through it, it looks pretty good. Whatever you did here.
so enacting, so the first part, obviously, hitting all the subsections. 15, so section 4.1. Ag districts, residential, more residential, mobile, home, commercial, industrial, recreational, conservation districts. Yeah, we have to read this thing. I'll like read it out loud.
You guys are all reading it, so I mean if you didn't read it out loud at the last.
Is there more public discussion on this issue in the year objects?
Yeah, it'll be a public hearing, so we'll open up the floor.
All right, thank you.
Do we ask questions first or do we get a public hearing first?
You guys as a board.
Yeah, so I'll kind of let you guys run with it a little bit. If you guys want to look at it or ask some questions.
I got some questions. Has anyone found the document or ordinance from the state that says what counties can and can't do? I haven't found one.
I don't know if
I was told there was one.
that says what the counties.
Can and can't do.
Isn't anything specific like that. I mean.
Are we
there's a
sure?
list of what you can and can't.
I can't.
There's not a specific, like, just a bulleted list, there's nothing like that, it's just within Century Code, there are portions that say PSC has preemption authority over pipelines.
Okay, so as I read through this, seems pretty common sense. However, I'm just wondering now, like when we put in the depth of pipeline, electrical, and communication transmission lines, I mean, it seems good, but is there something, does the state take precedence over that part too?
Only if they have primacy.
Linda, you gotta tell me your answer a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay, well, they stand to lose their primacy. In that case, then it's on the county. If we have nothing in our regulations, then there's no laws, there's no rules, and they do stand to lose the primacy. So we do need an ordinance that follows the state, because we would have privacy if they lost theirs.
Okay, that's information I did not know. But do these numbers coincide with what the state has then? Because I haven't seen the state. I haven't been able to find it.
It's out there. It's in 3822 and then some other ones.
I think I'd sure like to get a copy of that. Another question that's been heavy on my mind is, why would someone oppose this? Well, let's pick for discussion's sake. Why would Minn Kota be against this? I don't understand that. I think that's a legitimate question. Because they were in here, I didn't understand what they were talking about, and after I thought about it and did some reading, they didn't want, and you tell me if I'm wrong or not, because this is a discussion, it's a big item. I thought they didn't want to lose their power, that wouldn't be their power. I thought they didn't want to lose their privileges granted to them by the state.
What do you mean by privileges?
That they could do what they wanted to do.
Oh, the state. Yeah, I mean, the state went to the EPA and got primacy to rule over CO2 sequestration in the state of North Dakota.
Okay.
There's a few states that have done it. I think one comment we all have heard from Minn Kota's side at these meetings is that not even knowing where to start to be able to comply with said ordinance. Now that may,
They wouldn't be able to comply with it?
As I recall, a starting point of where to comply with was brought up in previous meetings. You remember that?
Was that thick stack of paper Shannon gave us? No, I'm joking, but I really did not understand the concept behind that they were trying to present that night.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking on their behalf. That's just, as I recall it from the previous meetings, that was a comment made.
I personally don't think these are overly restrictive regulations, and they're mostly about keeping the residents of the community safe.
Right, but I was under the impression that the state had that gave the county certain rights on things related to this and took away certain rights. And I just like an answer to that question. Is that true?
It's complicated.
Yeah,
It's complicated, but it should be answered. I mean, either they came up with a set of rules, this law that gives us some rights to do, or gives us some rights not to do. I can't really, so I'm just gonna guess now, not knowing, I couldn't find the document, that why would the state want to have anything to do to control dust? Why wouldn't they leave that to the county?
They do leave that to the county.
Okay, so I'd just like to see the document that shows us that. That would be good guidance, I'll tell you that.
There isn't a specific document that shows that, though. It's within the entire Century Code. There's different parts that say PSC has preemption rights over certain aspects of pipelines within the county. NDIC, I don't know that they have preemption rights over counties, but
yeah, but
I could be
NDIC has, how would you say it? I mean, they have their boundaries are, the injection site.
Well, yeah, that I understand.
So that's NDIC. PSC's pipeline coming in, or whatever, so.
Okay, so let me make my question simpler. They came to us with the last document we had, and they said, you can't do this. It's against the law. You cannot do this. Where did they get their standing from for that?
From the Century Code and what's North Dakota has primacy on, I would say. Would take
but
a
it's
guess.
not the entire ordinance. They have
Yeah.
issues with some of it. It's not the entire thing, and a lot of it was related to setbacks, which is why the setback portion was changed dramatically from what it was.
Right, but they didn't no one from industry told us that they had problems with setbacks. Why didn't they come right out and say it?
Roundabout way.
Well, it wasn't very helpful to us laymen here who are trying to do a good job.
I'd like to make a point.
Go ahead, Linda.
PHMSA has no regulations on the books for safety and health for CO2 pipelines, and this ordinance is to protect the people that the pipeline goes by, because PHMSA has been dilly-dallying about putting an ordinance out, or rulings out about safety and health around the pipelines, and we need this ordinance to protect the people that it's going past, protect people in the county.
Yeah. What about other counties? You know, like the PSC having regulation review over pipelines. I mean, some of that should. I don't
Not
know if
specifically
that'll.
CO2's pipelines, it's oil and gas, and it's just an entirely different matter.
Mhm.
We also have the CO2 injection wells here. And that is a bigger part of the problem, I think, that we need to be looking at and considering. I mean, we've had several meetings on this topic since last year. We've done a lot of work on it. I've done countless hours of research. I'm sure you've all looked into it. There were issues with the setbacks. Those issues were addressed, because I know that was one concern that Lonnie had was, the specific setbacks. That was a concern. That was addressed. As a county board, we answer to our residents, not industry. And our residents are here asking us to look after them. So I think it would be good to listen to what they say, because I haven't had a resident really come in here that has come to these hearings and said, yep, let's do it.
Excuse me, would you mind turning at the end of the table, Jane, so we can hear what you're saying too?
Sure, I can. I'll try not to block the camera here. I'm trying to live stream too. Would you like me to try to repeat that?
Well, no, we're here in the back of your head.
Yeah, sorry. I try not to speak a whole lot. So.
So I don't know, probably hitting on the setbacks. So Lonnie, why don't you give me what the setbacks are in this facility setback requirements? Let's just cover that section 7 there.
There's nothing in there. That was taken out. You said
There's still a facility setback requirement in there. It's just not a specific number now.
Read it as written.
applicant shall submit with their permit application the necessary information. You want me to read the whole thing?
I'll read it.
Well, I can read it, but
Yeah. Applicant shall submit with their permit application the necessary information to confirm that the storage facility and flow lines will not endanger human health. This may include CO2 release modeling utilizing the following. Number 1, exact location topography. 2, full flow release until safety systems or personnel are able to shut down the system. 3, various environment/weather conditions scenarios.
can I interrupt you just a second?
I'll allow it.
Okay. This is the same question we sat on the corner here and asked them. I don't know if you remember that. And we couldn't get an answer, which I found.
As far as release
Upsetting.
modeling?
Yeah.
So the answer we got was
This we don't have to tell you is basically the answer we got.
confidential,
So I just want to review from that meeting that we never got it. And if I recall, what did we do at that meeting at the end? Nothing, or
Which one?
Nothing, we tabled.
We tabled it.
but they wouldn't answer that question, and I thought that was a legitimate county question. And then if you try to think about this, well, you can't just say, well, we'll let the state worry about it. I don't think that's, because that's basically what they told us, right?
No, like I think think what they said was, you know, for security reasons or whatever, that they weren't releasing that to the public. That information on the modeling.
I really didn't believe that.
Can
Okay.
I say something? This ordinance, and I said probably pretty much the same words in February. This isn't a building permit. It's just an ordinance. Now that the setbacks are out, you know, actual numbers, the verbiage is in there, so when they give us that building permit, they have to have this information in there. That's what this ordinance is about. It's not a building permit, it's so when we have to review it, we can pull up this ordinance and make sure they are following. Yeah, make sure they're following it.
Basically, here versus state, looking at the state documents. Here you have an ordinance that highlights some of the things. Like
Some of the things that may not be stated in the state. And even if they're stated in the state, we can't say anything. You know, I mean.
And the only thing.
We wanna just cross our T's, dot our I's, make sure we're safe in the county. I mean, we have our ducks in a row here. Once that building permit comes, we have guidance.
I know I'm monopolizing the questions, but I have two more. What are you gonna do if they don't release the modeling things?
You deny it.
Okay.
Until, just like you did with Blattner. What you did today with Blattner, because they didn't have that information on the permit,
Okay.
you guys requested more information.
You
That's what that ordinance is.
You
trying
just
to do.
opened up a new question though, but does the state allow us to do that in the jumbled mess that we said we couldn't find? Will the state allow
Does the
this?
state allow you to reject a building permit?
No, does the state allow you to request a modeling of an actual spill?
If they request,
Spill
if we
leak.
request it, Mink or whoever can come back and say, no, then they have to show us. This is what the state says, it doesn't matter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they will have to show us that, no, in this statute, you cannot request that information, what we gave you is good enough. And then we have to accept it.
So it'd be the same stuff that they would have to provide to the state
Correct.
in order to get a permit.
But if that question should come about, the state allows us to request information. And
Okay.
if that's the information that we're requesting, and they come back with a response saying, who cares, you know, this is.
Well, that's
You know what I
we were
mean?
told
You know what I
last
mean?
time. Yes, I
Yeah.
know that.
So I mean, if they come back giving us the actual proof that you always wanted, or we always wanted, then we'll go from there. That's what this ordinance is about.
My last question, and then I'm not gonna ask any if I
Are you
have.
sure?
Yep, even if I have, unless it's really important. If you were, for example, Minn Kota Power or Summit Carbon,
Mhm.
what would you absolutely hate in this document?
See, and we can't answer that because
Well, let's brainstorm for a minute.
Hypotheticals.
it is.
We can't go
We
off
can't.
hypotheticals.
Well, we gotta think through this.
You can't, Lonnie. I mean, because everybody has an agenda. I don't know your agenda. You don't know mine.
I'm not following you, because if I would go through this and I would say, facility lighting, oh, doesn't bother me.
Okay, look at it
Appearance,
this way,
doesn't
Lonnie.
bother me.
Look at it as a parent with a child.
Yep.
They don't like rules. I mean,
So,
that's just
I
it.
don't know if the state, I mean, like, you know, an example, appearance, would, above ground structures shall be painted or otherwise colored in such a manner that will blend with the surroundings. If the state doesn't say anything along those lines, you know, or whatever, and we do, I don't know if that would be an issue, you know, the state's primacy and be preemptive, that we're saying they need to color the building a certain way. You know, that's just an example. It's just a thought. Some may say that, some may not.
The one thing I see in here that I'm sure they would oppose is the depth, burying the pipeline 6 feet. I'm sure that's gonna be opposed.
Well, what does the state require? We should probably know that.
Well, NDIC and PSC have regulation over pipeline depths, so.
Yeah, but what is it?
I've been told the industry standard is 4 feet. That's why I say I think
See, I don't wanna
they'll be
say,
opposing.
I wanna say it's 3 feet on pipeline, but that's just.
I've talked to a guy, gave them a lease and they're going 8 feet in the ground for him.
Well, I just think it would be nice to know, and you guys, I guess I'm not gonna say anything, but as a board member, it'd be nice to know that, hey, this is the depth that was submitted. It's more than the state, it's less than the state, it's the same as the state.
Well,
It would be nice for the board to know that.
They have to be at the state level.
Well, they
If
would,
they
yeah.
don't meet the requirements of the state better not approve something for them, so.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice for us to know when we're giving the commissioners, yes, you guys are, say, yes, we approve this, or no, we don't? Wouldn't it be nice to know what we're talking about at least? I think it
Most
would.
of this information off the state, right?
Like I said, it's just a guide. I mean, that's,
Not set in stone.
it's, well, I mean, it is set in stone in case we have to use it. Right now, I mean, you know, they have to get through a couple more states until they get up to us for this particular project.
Yeah, but we have Minnesota too out here.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, the bigger picture is what I'm talking about.
Well,
We can also negotiate variances.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to change stuff.
No. Sometimes variances can get messy.
They can, but it's an option. It's better to have that option than choose that, you know. That they have to go
Someone looked like you guys done chatting on that subject. Got anything further?
But-
Comment.
I just think we should know what we're talking about. Oh, I have enough.
Okay. All right, since public hearing, I'll open up the floor for anyone that wants to speak. I ask that you stand, say your name, where you're from.
Marv Abraham from rural Burley County. I live southeast of Bismarck, about 10 miles. One of my biggest concerns about this sequestration, I've been here 3 or 4 times and passed out a letter about sequestration wells and some of the questions that should be answered before those are done. I'm concerned about my 2 water wells where I live, 60 miles from here. When we put this stuff in the ground, 9,000 feet or 7,000, whatever it is, what's going to stop it from ruining my wells? That's already happening in Iowa. I've been reading about that, too. So you guys are here to represent the people of this county. So you got to think about not only me, but all these people here that pay taxes up here. You got to represent them too. So what happens if some of these local people here, it ruins their well, their water well, and they got a bunch of cattle? What are they going to do? Who do they sue? What happens? They're just SOL. So it's like, that's been on my mind for a long time, like nobody, it's a big science project, and what it is, nobody can tell us. We don't know, we can't get underground 9,000 feet and see what's down there. And then the other thing is, nobody has been able to tell me, what's this project gonna cost every taxpayer in this county or wherever, and and how much benefit are each taxpayer gonna get from this thing? We don't know. So we're approving something that someone is pushing down our throat. And in the end, we're basically SOL because we don't know, but it's like I'm on Cap Electric now twice this in the last 2 weeks. They have this coincidental grid charge. I paid $1.35 a kilowatt for 8 kilowatts that I used between 4 and 7 the other night. So that's a $10 bill. That's happened 3 times now in the last month. It's because the grid is where they're getting the power from, and all of a sudden they spring this on us. Well, I know everybody's gonna make money, stay in business, but all of a sudden, this is exactly what's gonna happen here. All these taxpayers here are gonna be scrambling and having to get rid of their 401k accounts because they gotta pay their taxes. They're gonna be screwed. And you know, and you guys, I know it's a tough decision. I sympathize with you guys trying to make a decision like this because you're under pressure from the Industrial Commission. Those guys that got money invested in this, and they only have one thing in mind: the money that they're going to reap off of their investment. That's all they have in mind. They don't care about the ramifications of this thing. They don't care one iota about that. Because all they're looking about is the big dollars.
Thanks, Mark.
Can I read a story? Well, we live about 4 miles east of Nakota. We have 2 wells. We drink the water. We cook with it. We bathe with it. That's all we have right now. Our grandchildren do. And how long will it be? Till we get cancer, probably. But this is in Mississippi where there was a rupture in August 26th of 21. I can't read it. It's going to be bad. But basically, the cars just shut off. Since they need oxygen to burn fuel, drivers scrambled out of their paralyzed vehicles. But they were so disoriented that they just wandered around in the dark. They were the first to call the county emergency management system. But like what kind of alarm systems will we have? Out in the country where we're at, maybe it was a leak from one of the nearby natural gas pipelines, or chlorine from the water tank. Nobody knew. And the first thought, however, was it was not the carbon dioxide pipeline that runs through the hills above the town, less than a half a mile away. Denbury Inc., then known as Denbury Resources, operated a network of CO2 pipelines in the Gulf Coast area that inject the gas into the oil fields to force out petroleum. While ambient CO2 is odorless, colorless, and heavier than air, the industrial CO2 in Denver's pipeline has been compressed into a liquid, which is pumped through the pipelines under high pressure. A rupture in this kind of pipeline sends CO2 gushing out into the dense, powdery white cloud that sinks into the ground and is cold enough to make steel so brittle it can be smashed with a sledgehammer. A welder for Denbury and chief of the local volunteer fire department didn't figure out that the mystery cloud was CO2 for a full 15 minutes. He had directed his first responders to set up 3 roadblocks to prevent traffic from entering the area. But it wasn't until 7:30 that the word went out that they had need to self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBA, to enter the Sateria and evacuate the town's 42 residents, many of them elderly and about 250 others who lived outside the town. By then, the rescuers and the residents were already in motion, cleaning the gas and evacuating others. None of the sheriff's deputies and volunteer firefighters had any emergency training in CO2 leaks. Neither did the staff at the 2 area hospitals, which had detrimental consequences for gas victims. Many of the 49 were hospitalized. it was bad enough. Now many of them are on inhalers full time. But basically nobody was prepared for any of this. And I'm going to skip down to the bottom, but meanwhile the federal government is taking the first steps to increase the size of the nation's carbon dioxide pipeline network as a way of fighting climate changes. Our investigation reveals that such pipelines pose threats that our few are aware of and are even fewer know how to handle. We got lucky with the county emergency management agency who oversaw the rescue effort. If the wind blew the other way, if it'd been later when people were sleeping, we would have had deaths. But I mean, I don't think that. Then it kind of goes on how deadly it is, and it can asphyxiate people. And then, I mean, this isn't anything to mess around with at all because it hangs down into the ground. Right where we are, it doesn't go into the air. It doesn't go high, it stays low.
Can I get your name for the minutes, ma'am?
Jackie.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just had one more thing. I wrote a letter to the individual PSC commissioners, and I kind of got reprimanded for doing that because they call it ex parte communication. There's a penalty for that. And me and another fellow, we kind of talked our way out of that. But my main concern with those guys is, and like would be with you guys as the board too, you make the wrong decision and a bunch of people die or get sick because of this, you could be setting yourself up for a class action lawsuit. So, I mean, I know as a board member, it's not an easy position. I sympathize with you guys making a decision like this, but I made that point clear with the Public Service Commission. And they let me off the hook for not penalizing me, but I could have if I pushed it further. So that's just something to think about too for you board members.
They never gave you an answer?
What's that?
They never gave you an actual answer?
No, they didn't give me an actual answer, but we talked to the attorney for the PSC and they kind of let us off the hook. So but you know, they have liability insurance for board members, but still, you know, individual boards, you know, I mean, can that be a class action lawsuit too, you know, so especially if there's, you know, death or a lot of sickness, so something to think about.
I'd also like to speak. I'm Robert Hoare, live in southeast Oliver County. One of my main concerns is one of the meetings up there, they stated that they're going to build the safest pipeline. I read the Bismarck Tribune faithfully every day, and it seems like it's 3 to 4 times a week there's a spill in the oil patch. And these are companies that have built pipelines for tens of years, decades, some of them 100 years. They do it over and over again. They know what they're doing, and they still have spills. Wonder why? They're not underneath the pressures that this carbon dioxide pipeline is, and yet they still have spills. This company, Summit Carbon Solutions, has not built a pipeline at all. This is new for them. This is uncharted territory, and yet they feel that they can do it safely. How can they? When we have gas pipeline ruptures, we have oil pipeline, and it makes a mess. But generally, people don't die of it. People a quarter mile away don't die from it. This one, if it does rupture, has there a CO2 pipeline of this size been built in this northern climate? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing some small ones possibly can Coyote hitting our small diameter again. We're not comparing, you know, apples and oranges here. That's a small diameter. If Minn Kota, I have no problems if Minn Kota want to do their carbon sequestration line. They're talking a small line. But that line, the ruptures, it's going to be in a small area, and it's only a mile or two from their injection site, from what I understand. We have 11 miles between shutoffs on some of these areas on a 24-inch diameter. It's basically a cylinder, like a gas cylinder on the farm.
When that thing starts going, it has to empty the whole line out. It has nowhere else to go. If there's a rupture, it has to empty the entire line out before it quits coming out of that line.
Tyler has a line too, or DGC?
DGC, I'm sorry, yes. DGC. And I understand, that they're trying to deal with their pollutants so they can be in compliance so we can have our clean, reliable energy. I don't think North Dakota has a problem with that. We're dealing with our own waste byproducts. We're not dealing with Iowa's and Nebraskas and everybody else's garbage. There's a reason this pipeline picked Oliver County, and they say it's the formations. I think that's a bunch of BS. I think they're doing it because we have a very low population. We have less people to fight them. That's why they're coming up here. And I applaud you for saying, yes, you guys have a difficult decision, but for the future of Oliver County, I don't think this is the right choice with any sequestration from Summit Carbon Solutions. Let our own companies deal with their own stuff. Keep their garbage, let them bury it down there. Thank you.
Let me piggyback on what he's talking about, building pipelines. I had a conversation with the manager of the Ag and Stakeholder Relations in Linton about a year ago, and then he gave me one of his business cards, and I think he's sorry he did that because I've been texting him. But, so I asked him one day about who's building these pipelines, because they don't, and he said there's two companies, Pumco and Precision. And I said, okay, so have they done a lot of pipelines? He said they've done miles of pipelines in North Dakota. I said, okay, how old the companies are they? Do you have any credentials? And he said, I really can't tell you how old the companies they are. And I said, so you're going to hire companies that you don't know anything about? And then he said, well, I'm sure they're at least been in business 25 years. I said, okay, you give me two answers to the same question. And which is it? So that's what I'm telling you about this company. They don't know what they're doing, but they're forcing everybody to cow down to them to make them, allow them to get their pipeline and get their 45Q credits. Okay, I'm done, honey.
Well, I don't like the tax credit thing myself, so.
No.
Anything else?
It's the big government scam.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Michael Schmidt, Oliver County resident, 2 miles east of town, 3 roughly. We have property that we've been approached on by Minn Kota that falls under Project Tundra. We have told them no repeatedly. We won't sign an easement. I'm assuming we're gonna get amalgamated if it ever goes through. My concern is, I've made this to the county commission. I've said this before to probably this same group. I'm generation 4. My kids are probably generation 5 coming back to the farm. We've been here for how long? We're gonna be here if this stuff all goes through. We need to start looking not at today so much, but down the future as to what we're gonna be leaving behind for the next that are gonna try to do this. You have ordinances for feedlots that you have to comply with for public health, where you can put your house. We got wind turbine ordinance. I mean, you got a whole book worth of ordinances there that you guys are trying to follow. Yet we have to bring a CO2 one. This is the 3rd or 4th time in front of you guys, and we can't get it passed. I really don't care if the state covers our butts or they want to try and regulate us. Even if we have the same verbiage as the state in our book, I am fine with that. But you need to have something on the book for Oliver County, because everybody wants to preach local government all the time, local control, but we can't do it coming out of this planning and zoning board. And yet you want to talk about a solar ordinance yet today too. Are we going to run into the same shit with that? Or are we going to actually get something done here? I guess that's my comment. If you got any questions for me, fine. But I'd like to see something on the books, whether it's the same as the state or not, just so there is something. Something is better than nothing.
Exactly.
So, thank you.
Thanks, Michael. I know, kind of following up on comment with the state, I know if the state would make changes, if we would have the same verbiage, we'd be different, obviously, if the state would ever make a change to whatever rules they govern by. So maybe in a case like that, the guy would have a reference to a chapter or something. But then you'd have to keep up with any changes, or maybe they aren't making changes. But just a comment. Yes.
Kurt Swenson, Oliver County resident. Lonnie always asks the best questions, but maybe just to go back to one of Lonnie's questions. You were asking about, what the state says the counties can do, or, and having a rule book or something to go by. And because, and as Jamie mentioned, it's not that simple, right? And every topic is different. But generally, what you fall back to is Oliver County is a home rule charter county. Oliver County has given certain rights to the state, and if they haven't given those rights in legislation, then the county retains those rights to regulate. Okay? So if the state isn't regulating it, you as a county have that opportunity to look at regulating it. And one of the things, Lonnie, you had concerns a while back about the delineated setbacks, specific feet and those kind of things. And the way that with Cassie's submission, the ordinance was changed was to really focus on just show us by data that it doesn't endanger human health, which is a state standard, and that's a bar that the state actually has in Century Code. But just sitting through the Industrial Commission hearings on Summit's Wells 2 weeks ago, the state didn't ask for that level of information, so they're not regulating it apparently, and so you have every right to regulate it.
See, we didn't know that. I kind of wish that I'd have made a motion to ask the commissioners for some money to hire someone that we could have sat here independent and asked these questions and come back and reported to us. Because let's be serious, if we're working 8 to 12 hours a day, research is limited. I'm not going to say I haven't done it. I have, but I haven't been able to find a lot of stuff.
One thing, maybe the lack of presence by someone from the state, and I know maybe somebody is from the state here, I don't know everybody, but, if the state cared about this and they were concerned about what you're doing, they would be here because they've been on public notice. They received the same public notices that we did in the newspaper, and the state is losing their opportunity to contribute information or advice if they don't respond to the public comment periods. They have the same opportunity that the citizens.
You know more than we do on the rules. I can tell that. I don't know, I still think we should have hired an expert that was independent to bring some of that research. I always like to see it sitting in front of me, kind of a linear thinker. But I just wish we knew more.
Lonnie, one thing you could maybe ask about, and there's obviously some folks from the industry here, is a lot of what was written and put into that ordinance language came from concerned citizens, right? And I think that's the genesis of how that ordinance ultimately arrived at this meeting tonight, was from concerned citizens. If there are specific things in there that somebody from the industry has concerns about, we should hear that and try to understand that, but we haven't heard that yet tonight. So I think it'd be, again, it's a public comment or public hearing process, we should hear from them if they have concerns.
I don't think there's anybody from industry here.
I don't know.
I was looking around, I was wondering, not a conspiracy theorist, but I was wondering why they weren't, because they were in every other one. It's hard to be a mediator and decide what's right and wrong and what's accurate and what's not.
You know, on the side of this, people decide want
You
to bring
stand up and
Oh, I'm
introduce
sorry.
yourself,
Troy
please.
Hudson Builder. I got land in Morton County. I'm right at the Oliver Morton County line. Proposed line where this line's supposed to run, you know, I can see it from my land. Well, now 10, 20 years down the road, this thing goes, well, they've met their criteria. That land resorts back to the state. I don't care if you own it or not. State retains, they're taking over in your land. Now, is the state gonna step up and follow all these ordinances and all these safety precautions? Or is it gonna be something that's, oh, it's running, there it goes, we're good to go? I mean, people gotta realize that, you know, this goes the wrong way. State walks in, takes your land. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's gonna resort back to the protection of the state. So, I mean, there's that side of it too. But then who's gonna follow up? Then what agency is gonna keep it safe and make sure it's up to compliance? So, just question about it.
Yeah, I don't know, the county doesn't have the resources to ensure compliance, so, I mean, that would have to come from the state, I would say, in my opinion, but.
I mean, it almost, like Lonnie said, it almost sounds like it's time to get some state legal to read all this verbiage and to understand what's really going, how it's written, how it's not written. And has or if changes a lot of things.
I certainly am lost in this. If I was voting, and I think you know that I'm not going to, but I would have no problem with the number, even though I'm for industry, we're the number 7 with the safety. I think it's common sense. If I'm reading it correct. That's where,
Setbacks, you mean?
no,
Setbacks.
yeah, but the modeling of the spill and how to respond to it, is what I'm referring to. And I said that at that other meeting too. It's very, well, we got it taken care of it. I wouldn't feel safe telling the commissioners it's okay not to do that. Does that make sense to?
Well, I don't know, I mean, would the commissioners want to see said modeling, so they can make an informed decision?
Well, I would hope so.
Sure.
I'd like to go back to what Mr. Hudson, what you said. How would the state own our land?
No,
Rob's got a little more.
I can answer that. Burley County Commissioner Brian Bittner dug into this stuff, and from what he had said on there, and don't quote me on this, but I watched the video, I posted it on Facebook. Basically, what it comes through is that after 11 years, Summit Carbon Solutions, if all goes according to their plan, then 11 years, they've filed paperwork with the state of North Dakota saying we are done injecting CO2 into these wells. And then the state of North Dakota monitors, don't quote me on this, again for a period of about 11 years, and they say, yes, this is all done. The pore space reverts back to the state of North Dakota because it is used up, the permit is full. And as we all know, pore space is tied to surface ownership. If the state of North Dakota owns the pore space, the state of North Dakota owns the surface acres. That's what they're not telling you.
Why would
There's smoke and mirrors. This company is using smoke and mirrors. They're not showing you the fine print on these things.
Why would the state own the pore space?
Because the permit is full. The permit is done with. They did their 11 years of injection. It's been monitored for 11 years. Now the pore space, what Brian Bittner, and I'm not quoting him, that's what I saw in the video in the Burley County Commission. You can go ahead and watch it yourself tonight. After that amount of time, pore space reverts back, according to what he said. That would scare the hell out of me as far as signing any type of easement with the company.
They sure didn't tell you that. I guarantee you that just from the look on your face. There's a lot of things they're not telling us. You know, this is everything. Oh, in a perfect scenario, this will never bother. What in the world is perfect anymore? Things happen. I spent the last hour and a half trying to get everything inside, make sure I didn't get hail on my tractors and everything else, run like a banshee to prepare for these things. Do you think this company is doing that? All they want is the money in their pocket. They're taking it from every taxpayer here and they're jamming it in their pockets, and then they're going to run. I guarantee you. That's their modus of operation. That's why they don't want to give you a plume model. They don't want to give you a disaster response because of terrorists. Well, if it's that easy for a terrorist to attack this pipeline, why would we want that here? That's what I don't understand. Why would we knowingly say, yes, we'll take this pipeline, but now we have to worry about terrorists? If it's that dangerous, the terrorists can do it, so can anybody else. I'm out there digging rocks up with a pallet fork on my skid steer thinking, boy, you know, if I didn't know that was there, could I possibly rupture that line? That line's cold. There's fluid moving through it. Anytime fluid moves, especially it's an air conditioning principle, the steel gets brittle. Could I inadvertently do it if I didn't know it was there? It's only 3 feet underneath the ground. That's not that far. I just recently had a locate out there, and I watched Beck pull the fiber through. I forgot where I went. I went out there, figured I got to put post holes here. I didn't want to hit it. I called them out. I was off by 100 feet. And it hasn't been that many years. People forget. You're busy in your lives. I just don't understand why the county would want this here. What's the county getting out of this? Are we getting any money in the coffers? Guess not. They're waving dollar bills, but why would we jump after dollar bills when nothing's guaranteed? I just don't understand that.
I don't know this, with the state taking our land because the forest space is full, I would really have to see how that's gonna happen.
I just suggest that.
Look into it.
Yeah, I would definitely look into it. Brian Bittner did some research. I know he got a lot of flack over it because nobody wanted him to know that.
I'd like to share something. I can address that. And what he's saying, and what Brian is saying, Brian Bittner he's referencing, saying is true. The way the Century Code is written is once the company that's injecting the CO2 says they're done injecting, then there's a 10-year post-monitoring period. And if all checks out correctly in that after that 10-year post-monitoring injection period, then the company transfers title to the carbon dioxide and what's called the storage facility. The storage facility is defined in Century Code to include the reservoir that's being injected into, which is in our case around here mostly the Boone Creek Formation. And so they're taking title to the CO2 that's in the reservoir and the reservoir. Now Century Code also states, and this was, I forget which year, I think it might have been 09 or 11, but Century Code was also written that says you cannot sever the title of your pore space from the surface estate. The pore estate has to stay with the surface estate. So you can sever minerals, right? So we do that all the time, but you can't sever your pore space from the surface estate under Century Code, and that's been affirmed by the Supreme Court in North Dakota as well recently in the Northwest Landowner case. And so then what is happening in law, and I'm not saying the state is necessarily wanting to do this, but this is how the law is written. They take title to the CO2, they take title to the storage facility, which includes reservoir, which includes the pore space. So if they're taking title to your pore space, they're taking title to the surface land as well, apparently. That's the chain of events that is being looked at. And again, I'm not saying that they're going to do that, but that is how the law is written.
It's shocking.
It is very shocking. It's scary.
I got something to say. And if any of you want to watch that, May 6th, Burley County, timestamp, approximately 2 hours and 50 minutes in. You had those gentlemen up here a month ago that would have shared this. Curtis Junt, he was here, 40-year expert in the pipeline industry. He's forgot more about this than what we know. You guys took him off the agenda. You could have heard all this.
Can I get your name, please?
Doug Pearson, north of Bismarck. And as far as county ordinances, Burley County, Emmons County, I've been all to the PSC hearings down there. They have no rights. Their ordinances have no rights. PSC is overruling everything. You guys gotta look into this. You have to.
So you said the PSC's overruled all Bismarck?
Burley and Emmons both.
Okay.
Is that being fought?
Well, how are their ordinances different? How is ours different than theirs?
Well, I don't know your ordinances, so.
Well, you don't have one, the one we're looking at. I suppose you guys don't have a copy of that.
I get it, I get it. So you just gotta keep in mind, what you're addressing in this ordinance is the sequestration facility areas, which are under Century Code or are administered through the Industrial Commission.
Right.
And what Burley County and Emmons County got
Pipelines only.
ruled against was under the Public Service Commission. And so the rules in the Public Service Commission rules, they actually have language that says that they can preempt the ordinances of the county. So that's actually in Century Code in the Public Service Commission pipeline type rules or linear transmission rules. But there is no language like that in the Industrial Commission rules in Century Code 3822. There is zero references to the state being able to overrule the county if the county is unreasonable. I'm not saying they won't try, but they're different laws, different jurisdictions.
We've heard the opposite of that too, Kurt. So, I mean, it's very confusing. But we had no documents to look at, which is tough.
Sometimes you gotta poke the bear, Lonnie.
They're hard. Well, poke at anybody right now, but
Like I said, this isn't about permit, it's just.
oh, I understand that. I understand that.
Ordinance for public safety.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's our main agenda with
So,
this one.
public hearing's still open, keep it open for, I don't know, 10, do like 10, I was gonna say 5 or 10, but. And, we'll put a cap on it 10 minutes from now.
I said 2, not
2? That's what you said?
That's
Yes,
what I
good job.
said. I said 2, not
I'll do
10.
5. We'll go 5 minutes from now, I guess, unless I don't hear anything. So 8:33 right now.
To me, it just seemed like in this whole issue, Mark Abraham again, that the public safety is at the bottom of the list for concern.
For who?
For concern.
For whom though?
For the people that are trying to do this pipeline and the state officials.
Okay.
They're not even concerned about that. They're concerned about the dollars. But it is at the bottom of the list. It really is. Public Service Commission, that's how they feel about it too. Randy Chrisman even said that safety is not something that they can rule on.
Lonnie, I did look up the Century Code and you were asking about the pipeline depth.
Yes.
It is 4 feet for oil and gas pipelines, which they're trying to piggyback the rules with the CO2 pipeline of the oil and gas, which it's not the same animal.
Exactly.
I did look, I just looked it up here about 20 minutes ago when you asked the question.
So you mean the state has no rule on the depth of carbon pipeline?
They piggyback off of oil
They
and gas.
piggyback off of the oil and gas
Yeah,
regulation.
So their rule is the same, so you gotta say it, their rule for carbon pipelines is the exact same as it is for oil and gas.
Correct.
What they're trying to say.
It's on where I was recalling that 3 feet was PHMSA, I think, maybe. Or
PHMSA is 4 feet also.
Is it?
4 feet to the top of the pipe cover, yes.
See, they're trying to link this in with a common carrier, just like oil and gas.
It's not the
And
same.
it's not.
Not the same at all.
Corey, if you can jog my memory, what's Blue Flint's line buried at? They were at 6 feet, correct? 6 to 7?
Yeah, 6 to 8 or
When
something.
we toured their facility.
I want to say that was a 3-inch that upsized to 4-inch underground or something.
Yeah,
I think that was
and they were
4-inch.
only operating at 1,700 pounds of pressure too.
Something like that.
So, when I mean they're 3
And
inches.
going in the ground at whatever, I think they were 50 degrees ish, or were they cooler than that?
They were 50. Yeah, they were 50 degrees, but they took their depth to 6 feet because of frost. I think is
Yeah,
what he
and I
said
think they
there.
might even been a little deeper on that tour. They said that. That's what they said when asked.
Right.
The
Yeah.
tour guide.
Yeah.
So.
Is the state's attorney on? He's not on here. No.
He will be.
He said I can call him if I need to.
So. If yeah, we got a minute or two. If anyone wants to say anything else, not we're gonna move on. Okay. We can any motion close public hearing.
Make a motion to open it. You can just close.
We'll close the public comment period on this item. So we can keep moving here. Toward?
Good luck, you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
I mean, I read through this. From what I see, we're trying to do the best for the people, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know
We're trying to do the best.
county commissioners will have say on any, whatever. Obviously, anything we push out goes up to the county commissioners. So,
Right.
or any decisions or any suggestions or anything. So. So, yeah. I know we've talked about a lot of that, what to request on safety and human health, environmental impacts, human impacts, so. I think we hammered on that pretty hard on the setbacks. A lot of that's around modeling, just having some information.
We've met.
So I mean, like the road use agreement, that's between the county, making permit process is easy, so. Do we have that in any of our other ordinances? I don't think we do.
I think there's something somewhere.
Should be something like that in the wind tower ordinance. Please pass my book.
It's just a book.
They're generic?
They're all the same.
I thought I had my name on mine.
So, discussion.
We have 2 voting members and 3 of you have been recused or not voted.
So looking for something, I guess, on this, some type of action or.
Yeah, because we still have to read it.
What was that?
We still have to read it.
Read the whole thing, or what? You don't need to read it? We can highlight it.
Well, I mean, we still have to
Read every item.
because it is changed.
What's that?
It is changed, right? Because we didn't read it the last time.
Yeah. I can skim through it really quick with that.
I'll help you if you, I'll
Yeah.
help you if you
Well,
want.
that's official. I don't know, whatever to make it official, but. Section 1 amendment, new subsection 15 hereby added under conditional uses in agricultural districts as listed in section 4.1. Additionally, new subsection 1 is added under conditional uses in residential districts 5.1. New subsection 1 under residential districts, section 6.1. New subsection 1 under conditional uses in mobile home park districts, subsection 7.1. A new subsection 1 under conditional uses in commercial districts, section 8.1. A new subsection 10 under conditional uses in industrial districts, section 9.1. A new subsection 3 under conditional uses in recreational districts, section 11.1. A new subsection 1 under conditional uses in conservation districts, section 12.1 of the zoning ordinance of the County of Oliver, State of North Dakota are hereby implemented and enacted to read as follows. So the carbon dioxide sequestration storage facilities and flow lines, the following regulations shall apply to infrastructure and facility developments related to the permanent sequestration of carbon dioxide in pore space associated with a Class 6 injection well permitted by the North Dakota Industrial Commission. Definitions, we got 3 definitions here. A, carbon dioxide shall contain a minimum of 95% carbon dioxide along with incidental substances and gases that do not exceed the threshold set by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration to be immediately dangerous to life and health as quantified by dispersion modeling in all release scenarios. B, permanent sequestration is defined as the injection of carbon dioxide for the purpose of permanently placing into pore space for storage and does not permit the use, reuse, or removal of carbon dioxide for any other purpose. Flow lines defined as smaller intrafield transfer line used to transfer carbon dioxide from the main facility or pipeline to injection facilities. Facility lighting, any above ground facility requiring outdoor lights shall be designed to minimize light trespass and light pollution from the boundaries of the facility and shall be designed as follows. A, all lighting fixtures shall be shielded so that no substantial glare extends beyond the boundaries of a CO2 sequestration facility. B, unless otherwise required to comply with regulations, lighting shall be installed for security and safety purposes only. Section 3, appearance. All above ground infrastructure and facilities shall be painted or otherwise colored in such a manner that will blend with the surroundings. Section 4, noise pollution. Any infrastructure and facilities developed in conjunction with the CO2 sequestration project must be designed to minimize noise pollution. A maximum of 40 decibel noise level is permitted at the immediate above ground facility boundary fence. Section 5, application, construction of maintenance standards. The location and construction of access roads and other infrastructure shall, to the greatest extent possible, minimize disruption to farmland, landscape, and agricultural operations. B, the applicant shall provide proof with their application that it has obtained a permit for the proper regulating authority for a Class 6 injection well for carbon dioxide sequestration. C, the applicant shall promptly replace or repair all fences or gates removed or damaged during all phases of the sequestration project's life, unless otherwise negotiated with the affected landowner. D, upon completion of construction of the sequestration facility, the applicant shall restore all affected county roads to at least as good condition as existed prior to construction. To that end, applicant shall enter into a road use agreement with the county for county roads that are or will be used for construction, operation, and maintenance of the facility, which agreement shall include at a minimum the following. 1, results of an acceptable pre-construction baseline survey conducted to determine then existing road conditions for assessing potential future damages. 2, secure bonding or other financial assurance in a reasonable amount of agreed upon
between the parties for the purpose of repairing any damages to affected county roads caused by the construction, operation, or maintenance of the CO2 sequestration facility and flow lines. And 3, provide the Planning and Zoning Commission with a copy of any signed agreements pertaining to use of Oliver County roads. E, the applicant shall minimize the removal of trees and shall not remove groves of trees or shelter belts without the written approval of the affected landowner. If any trees are removed, the applicant shall replace each one tree removed with 2 new trees after discussion with the landowner on placement and or replacement of up to 5 years. F, during all times of construction, applicant shall apply, after discussion with county road superintendent, a dust suppressant to gravel roads for effective dust control on the complete width of the road surface within 1,000 feet of any driveway to an occupied dwelling, commercial building, publicly used structure or facility, and along any road that borders any state in county park or livestock feeding operation. Section 6, public safety standards. Part A, prior to construction and to be included with the application, the applicant shall prepare fire protection and medical emergency plans. That shall include a detailed list of trainings and emergency response equipment, of which the applicant will provide to the emergency response entities at the expense of the applicant, which includes, but is not limited to the following entities: rural fire districts, sheriff's department, emergency management, and local emergency medical service providers. Part B, each above-ground facility shall be marked with a visible identification number to assist with provision of emergency services, and the permittee shall file with the Oliver County Emergency Manager a map identifying infrastructure locations and numbers. Part C, the applicant shall develop an early warning system to provide local residents and emergency responders notification of any release that could create a health risk beyond the boundaries of the facility. Part D, the applicant shall provide educational materials about the project, including any restrictions or dangers associated with it, to landowners within 5 miles of the site boundaries, and upon request to any other persons who may be affected by the project. The applicant must provide all necessary safety measures related to the facility, such as warning signs, pipeline markers, or gates for traffic control, or to restrict public access to the facility.
Product to fit your field. We endlessly innovate.
Sorry, seeing if the storm was out there.
Yeah, they just issued a severe thunderstorm warning for us, so.
E, in accordance with the applicant's, you're gonna start reading here in a second.
I said I'd help.
E, in accordance with the applicant's public safety plan and within 10 minutes after an occurrence, the applicant shall notify the Oliver County Emergency Manager of any extraordinary event. Extraordinary events include, but shall not be limited to, fires, carbon dioxide or other chemical releases, and any serious injuries to facility workers or private citizens. The applicant shall, no later than 30 days after the occurrence, submit a report to the county emergency manager describing the cause of the occurrence and the steps taken to avoid future occurrences. You like section 7, please?
Facility setback requirements. Applicant shall submit with their permit application the necessary information to confirm that the storage facility and flow lines will not endanger human health. This may include CO2 release modeling utilizing exact location topography, full flow release until safety systems or personnel are able to shut down the system, various environment, weather conditions scenarios. 2, CO2 concentration level at which human health is endangered. 3, name, employer certifications, professional engineer license number, and contact information of the individual that performed the model. Listing residences and roadways impacted by the various scenarios. Oliver County has many cultural and historic sites. The county may reasonably require the permittee to avoid such sites when granting a conditional use permit. Pipeline, electrical, and communication transmission line standards. The applicant shall place all electrical lines and communication cables underground to a depth of at least 4 feet. The applicant shall place all flow line and pipeline underground to a depth of at least 6 feet to the top of the pipe. The applicant shall not place overhead lines on public roads or drainage easement right-of-ways. When placing pipelines, electrical or communication lines or flow lines, the applicant shall place them in accordance with the easement negotiated with the affected landowner. The applicant shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws applicable to the generation, storage, transportation, and disposal of hazardous waste generated during all phases of the project's life. Road use arrangements. Prior to construction, the applicant shall make satisfactory arrangements, including but not limited to obtaining highway utility permits and load permitting system transportation permits for road use, access roads, intersection maintenance, and repair of damages with the county. The arrangement agreement between the parties shall be reduced in writing and signed by the county and the applicant. A copy of the executed agreement shall be provided to the county road superintendent. Restoration and reclamation of property. Within 6 months of termination or abandonment of leases or easements for a carbon dioxide sequestration facility and flow lines in Oliver County, the current permittee shall, at its own expense, cause the removal of all structures to a depth of 3 feet below pre-construction grade. Underground pipelines, electrical or communication lines do not have to be removed, but any easements of record must be released. Prior to, during, and after construction, and within 6 months of termination or abandonment of leases or easements for a carbon dioxide sequestration facility and flow line in Oliver County, the current permittee shall execute at its own expense a noxious weed control plan. The permittee will be required to repair all ground that has been disturbed and, upon agreement with the landowner, have a plan and take care of any noxious weed growth caused by such land disturbance. If the noxious weed control plan is not followed and noxious weed growth is not controlled, the permittee will be subject to fines at a dollar amount set by the Oliver County Weed Control Board until such a plan is followed and noxious weed growth is contained. Changes of ownership. An owner or processor of any controlling interest in a carbon sequestration facility permitted in Oliver County pursuant to this section shall notify the county auditor of the sale or transfer of the ownership of or interest in that operation within 30 days of such sale or transfer.
So back it's just
That's for
adopting ordinance
Yeah.
amendments. Yeah, that's for commissioners. So that is as written. So, board. What do you want to do?
I make a motion to approve the ordinance as written.
A motion on the floor to approve the ordinance as written.
I second it.
And a second. So, is there any discussion on moving this amendment up to the county commissioners? Discussion, I'll call it one more time. Any other discussion? I suppose it's just you two, so. Okay. Seeing, hearing no further discussion, we will move to a vote. We'll do a roll call vote. So I'll start off with Linda.
Yes.
And yep, in similar fashion, Randy, if yes is yes and no is no. So, Randy?
Yes.
Yes. And I'm recused, Lonnie's recused, Bill's.
Do we have to give reasons to the commissioners why we're recused?
We already covered that.
It's covered in the
It's covered in this.
We covered that. Okay, so I have for voting members on the CO2 ordinance, 2-0. Motion carries. Next item, discussion on solar ordinance. I would say
That is strictly, it was tabled from the last meeting, which is why it's on the agenda again.
yeah.
Because it was tabled, and all it is that we, the commission, county commission chair, if requested the board to look into other counties that have solar ordinances and potentially looking at putting one out there for us as well. So whether or not we do that, I mean, this is basically what this discussion is. It's a 2-second, Lee wants us to look into it. We don't have to table this, we just need to look into it, that's the discussion.
So at the, you guys are in the county much more than I am. Has anyone heard of any other counties doing solar ordinances
Oh, there are.
in North Dakota?
Yes.
A lot of counties.
A lot of counties have an ordinance for solar?
Yes.
Okay.
There are several that do.
It's
I
not
guess
a bad idea.
Yeah, could we
to
get,
look into it.
I think, I hate to burden you guys, but if we could get our hands on 2 or 3 copies of, or 2 or 3 examples of
okay.
counties that have an ordinance on this, that would make our life a little easier. So,
Yeah, I already started looking for them, I just don't have them. So I will look into that and then have something for you.
apologize for putting an action on you, but.
Alright.
So, I am looking for the board on something here.
Do we have any resources to help her if, do we tell the county commissioners that she can hire somebody to look stuff up for her? Can we ask, is what I meant to
Well,
say.
you can request it.
You can request it, but I mean,
Don't you-
all we're really gonna do is look at different counties and just.
If you have the time, I mean, to be respectful of your, I mean, somebody's gotta do it, or we look like we don't know what we're doing.
I would say what's been said is there are counties that have an ordinance related to solar activities. Before we had talked, at what level are certain North Dakota or North Dakota groups, where do they regulate? The regulation groups, PSC or NDIC.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've talked about that. I'm not gonna get into that tonight, but I think all we're really asking for is if there's counties that have a solar ordinances, if we could get a copy of their ordinance,
Yes.
2 examples, maybe 3, something to look at.
Just to kind of get a basis of what we.
Absolutely.
So a friendly conversation between counties.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, you guys want to say anything on that topic? If not, I would suggest we do something, like kind of kick it to the next, so we can get on to the next topic.
Well, we kind of did.
Okay.
You're having us look into it.
Yeah.
That's the action.
Then
That was
that's
the
good.
action, so let's postpone, officially postpone it to the next meeting. Any motion? Give a motion.
I make that motion.
You make a motion to postpone
Hold it till the next meeting.
where we can have more.
We're
More
short of
government
time. We're
information.
short of time.
Okay.
More
We got a
information.
motion on the floor to postpone the solar ordinance to the next meeting, and a second, so that we have time to collect additional information from other counties that already have an ordinance in place, so we can review at the next meeting. Is there any other discussion? Got a first and a second. Seeing, hearing no discussion, no further discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, respond with a no. Motion carries. Last item tonight, Minnesota Power. Apologize for the wait. HVDC project information, Kyle Larson and Daniel McCourtney.
Yep.
You guys have the floor.
All right, thank you. I have some stuff to pass out if that's all.
Yep.
And I'm, good evening, thanks for letting us in. I guess we're gonna keep you guys probably not very long. We don't have a permit we're looking for at this time. It's just informational for you guys, as we will need permits going forward. We just want to make you aware of what we have, where it's at, and just general overview if you have any questions. I'm Kyle Larson from Minnesota Power.
Yep, I'm Dan McCourtney. I'm with Minnesota Power. And again, like Kyle said, we're not asking for anything tonight. We just thought this would be a good opportunity to introduce ourselves, introduce the project, and
if you have any guidance for us, we're all ears.
Any comments or questions that you guys have, we'd be more than happy to take here. So,
and we're Minnesota Power. Our other parent company is Elite, who you probably see are Elite Clean Energy. They got wind towers in the area on Tyson and Tri-County wind farm.
So if you take a look at the first first slide that we have here, Minnesota Power owns and operates a 460-mile transmission line that runs from Duluth, Minnesota to Center, North Dakota here. The terminal ends, especially this one here in Center, was built in the 1970s with equipment that was meant to last 30 years. We're now well beyond 40, and we need to replace that obsolete equipment. And that's why we're here, is we need to upgrade our Center HVDC terminal. If you go on the slide 2 that you're looking at here, our facility, our current facility is located probably as the crow flies about 5 miles southeast of the city of Center, kind of adjacent to the Minn Kota power plant there. Let's jump to slide 3 here real quick. We have some constraints as far as this project's concerned. If you take a look at this plate of spaghetti that you have in front of you here, these green lines are existing transmission lines. So we're constrained on how we can get to our facilities as they sit right now. There's a lot of other utilities and as well as MP that are using this area right now. So to deal with that, if you turn to slide 4 here, what we're looking to do is move our converter station 1.5 miles to the northeast, excuse me, and then move the substation 1.5 miles to the northwest. That way we're able to actually get at the facilities and we have some room to work. Jumping down to slide 5 now, the other constraint that we have with this facility is that we can't take the line out of service for a very long period of time. The electric grid can't handle that. So we need to switch it over, build it while this line is in operation, and then switch it over. So as a result, we're going to be doing it in 2 phases. What you see here on this map, that in the blue, on slide 5 here, this blue section right here would be phase 1, and this orange section that you see here is phase 2. And again, we're rebuilding the substation, the converter, and then the transmission lines associated with this is hooking it back into the electric grid. One more piece of paper for you. From a land ownership standpoint, there would be 2 primary landowners that would be impacted by the project. One would be Minnesota Power. The other one would be Minn Kota Power. If you take a look at the map that I have here, Minnesota Power owns and operates the parcels that are shaded in blue, and Minn Kota owns and operates the parcels that are shaded in purple. With the exception of, you can see on the left-hand side of the map, there would be a section line road on that we would be looking to get approval to use here from the Oliver County Board. That's a real quick overview of the project. I know you guys have been here for a long time here tonight, but I think at that point I'll pause and see if you have any questions for Kyle and I.
Just for one more thing real quick, is we are going to the county board meeting. Jayden has us on the schedule there. She's put us on at 8:30. Just to present the same thing to them so they know what we're doing here and look for that road easement that we're looking for access.
Can you send your information?
Ask away. If we can't get to the answer, I'm sure as heck we'll get someone that can. So, in background, I guess I'm construction manager, so we're be overseeing construction on site once we have permit and everything else here.
You're gonna look for a road easement, you said.
That's what we have on the map there.
The green dotted line is the
Yeah.
switch dot.
That guy right there would be the section line to get into the substation.
What kind of a timeline do you have on this project?
So as far as that's one of the things that we wanted to have this discussion with you guys here this evening to see if you saw any red flags or anything, any fatal flaws with it. I guess at this point, we'd be looking to submit the conditional use permit application to the county here sometime in the July, August timeframe.
So are you thinking construction in
Well, so once we get the conditional use permit from the county here, we still need to get approval from the North Dakota PSC. We anticipate that taking, 8 months or something like that. So I would think that, on the best side, it would be, late fall of 25.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Okay.
Say, Corey? Dave Berger, Alva County. So we're just looking at this map. What is this green dotted line?
That's the section line road that we would be looking for approval to.
Okay, then landowners
County.
been contacted?
Yep.
We've talked to them, there's no.
I haven't been contacted.
Which one are you?
I live right here.
Oh, so, no, the landowners along that.
Well, that's my field right there.
Is it? Okay.
He hasn't been
And
contacted?
Wade Isaacson hasn't contacted you?
Not that
Which
I'm
one was
aware
yours,
of.
sir?
I live here and this is the end of our property right here.
Okay. Well.
So what it's coming down to is, Minnesota bought that DC line from Minn Kota quite a few years ago. Minn Kota PO'd a lot of people off, landowners, by the way they ran their line. If you guys notice, right west of Randy Schmitz, the cemetery that Hibbersbach land is on, they put them 5 poles in the ditch. And the county took them to court to the PSC, and the PSC still allowed it. So there's still a lot of hard feelings, and now, just like Summit commented saying, and well, we got landowner approval. You never talked to Myron. And Kelly lives close.
Because this section line road goes all the way down to the golf course highway. I don't want all that traffic coming down the road right through my yard.
Wade has been in contact with my husband, and I know they had discussed coming down our road. But we were thinking, like, why can't it come down already existing property land that's already owned by Minn Kota? That way you don't have to go through any county roads.
Is your husband Mike?
Keith.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yep, no, I'm trying to remember the names that we talked to, so. And I guess that's something that we have to follow up on and make sure that.
Okay.
We get.
I'm not the official owner, my father still owns everything there. He's not talked to me about being contacted about anything.
And I think,
Myron, what's your section in township there, so I can put it up on that?
Thank you for bringing it up.
Section 20, 142, 83. Right at the south end of that section.
And I know the landowners that our land agent here has talked to are the Bolsleys. There's nothing in writing, there's nothing yet that we've agreed to. Our first step is to go to the county and their first concern is going to be the landowners. Should be anyway. And it will be
I hope you stand behind that statement, because we were in that previous power line build, and there is still some not happy feelings towards that right now.
Yeah, I hear you and I hear you, because when we have lines down, I have to go out and deal with people, and I hear the stories, and they buffaloed a lot of people and they just ran through. We heard that.
They literally came in the spring when we were trying to farm and bladed the section line so there was a berm this tall on one side and this tall on the other side that was wide enough for a pickup to go down, and I could not access my own damn property to farm because I can't get my equipment down the road like that. And then they went off permit and got stuck in one of my, I know it's previous, but I'm just saying
that's fair.
This is the stuff that we dealt with the last time. And so the feelings and sentiment are still there.
I heard you earlier that you're fourth generation. I hear this all the way from center to Duluth. all the time. That is not our intention, I'll tell you that much, and I know it's just a person saying.
No, I know.
And they probably told you the same thing.
Yeah.
Really, that's not how we do business, and that's why we're here tonight. It's because we want to be upfront with
No,
people. We're not
that-
asking for
That's
anything.
fine. I'm just,
So Michael, what's this is showing, if they don't come down Matt Earhart's and Myron's road,
they're coming
that means they're gonna
right
come
through
across
my yard.
on the south side of your yard by the golf course.
There's no.
One way or the other, you gotta get over there.
There's no way
I'm
that
sorry,
road
what's
is
your
gonna
name?
take that.
I can't call it and all that.
Where on this, this map is that?
Well, and it's, that was basically Texas crossing.
You showed me, you said this is the
That was in
section.
the county one, or culverted that.
You have your.
Yeah, so where's 35th?
No, that was the one that we read.
Well, actually, right here.
This one was a.
And again,
They wanna move their switch here.
So this is a great, where is Myron's house at?
So we have to veer this way, and then come right up Nelson Lake and back up.
And this is a mean gravel road.
We just know the area.
Yeah.
They're trying to get all the congestion out of the east right now.
No, now I know.
That's that one at the bottom, right there.
That's right by Joe's over there.
And like they said, it's discussion, right?
But it's a section line.
Yeah.
Here's the piece of here's John.
You guys can.
So we have one here.
Yeah, we need to continue the meeting.
We're looking at alternatives.
Well, it takes a while to go.
So, yeah, I mean, your map shows it real well, you know, where the land kind of lays out.
Like you said, we have to go through it.
I'm guessing you guys have looked at coming in on the neighbor asphalt road. Like you said,
yeah, we've looked at this main road. Is it?
yeah, I know we have a river pipe. That was a better option, I guess, overall from the study or whatever you guys figured to come in.
Yep.
That would be construction and then maintenance and everything. I mean, that would be. I mean, this would be.
That would be our main ask, and that's the thing. Post construction, there's not going to be a lot of traffic moving in and out of the substation. But
Come in from the east.
I know, like Michael's talking, you know, we're dealing with it right now on the big project. Those roads are hard.
Section lines are bad.
From this side? Well, we did. And we did look at that, but then to do that, you would have to cross this stream. Yep. Construct that's in here as well.
So I'm
I don't think we have time to go all.
No, this is chaos.
If you guys have anything further to add, or if you guys want anything, I know this is kind of just informational, but we're pushing into a storm here, so kind of want to hurry this up. And
We're gonna drive right into it, Cory. Might as well go to the bar.
So,
Lonnie,
Hey.
we're just overhearing conversation here. The partner here said that things go right, you get permit 26. You're looking could be 3-year project, up into the 3rd year possibly, to completion. So 26, maybe touching 29. You know,
That's a possibility. It's gonna be worse.
yeah, and I've just opened that up. You know, I know Bill had asked, you know, when are you looking at starting?
And that's what I talked about, you know, it's a two-phase project, but you know, from start to
Perfect
finish,
world.
it's gonna, you know, it's gonna
Perfect world, here we go.
straddle, you know.
Yeah. So just,
Over a period of years.
because I know Bill had opened the question on when you looking at starting, you know, ballpark figure could be touching 29, the finish date. You know, so as far as just conversation with landowners and trafficking and people in the area, So I wanted to add to it.
Yep, thanks, Rick. I'd recommend landowners discussions and making sure everyone's happy, or kind of, I guess, have the conversations up ahead of this. The way it sounds, conditional use permits probably going to be coming our way in the next couple months. Review the ordinances of the county.
Yep.
So we can have discussions at the time if there's any issues with complying anything that's in our current ordinances. And I don't know, you guys have anything else to add tonight?
Yeah, any questions that, we'll make ourselves available to, if there's questions, we can leave our contact info here. That's not a problem, we can give you our land agent's contact info.
Okay.
We're willing to do site visits, whatever it is, if it's with the community members, if it's with the boards, the landowners, whoever, if you wanna see it.
Has the auditor's office got any calls on this project from the county yet?
For the county, they called me, that's.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's what it is.
Yep, but I'm talking from the residents or anything,
Oh.
anyone asking questions, but if you have their contact information and anyone calls in.
I don't think it's out there yet, it's just information.
So if anyone calls in, you can provide
Yes.
Kyle
Kate
or
has
Daniel's
mine down.
information,
Yep.
so. Okay. Yeah, so since there's really no action on that item, I think we can just move on, and that's all the business for tonight, so no one opposes adjourning?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn the meeting, do I have a second? Got a second, is there any other discussion? No, do I need them? Yeah, we'll take a vote, so all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Right.
Opposed, respond with a no. Motion carries, meeting's adjourned.
You're gonna drive home into that?
Sure. Before